Hey, everybody. Welcome. Uh, get you a little closer so you hear my dulcet tones. Welcome to Frank Fry Live AMA. Ask Me Anything on T2K, Twilight 2000. I'm kind of really doing this because the first time was yesterday. I did this in response to Antoine Lavoisier, Complex Game Apologists video. And I was trying to be funny, and turns out no, I really wasn't funny. And what the hell happened? Oh, I'm still trying to work all this out, all this technology and such. It's really interesting. If anybody's got any questions, throw one out there so I can see whether or not um, this chat thing is working. If not, I guess I'm just going to ramble on in loneliness. So, yeah, this is my set. This is my erstwhile office, which will soon get cleaned out. And okay, it looks like I've got RAF4. Oh, you may be on. Oh, okay. Welcome to live chat. I'm not sure what this. I'll click this icon, and if I blow up and go away, ha, learn me, won't it? Wait a minute. There is one way. Oh, hey, I can say something. See what I can say here. Like I said, I'm 71 years old, and really, give me a break. All right. I would like to. Yeah, okay, it works. Let's see if anybody else is going to show up, but we'll start. Um, all right, let's start with in the beginning. In the beginning, I had always been I've been a traveler player for since the late 1970s. I'd actually got the opportunity to meet Mark Miller when he was a guest at a convention at the University of South Florida, where I was going to school. And it was really good. Mark is a tremendous guy. By the way, happy belated birthday to the Lord High Emperor of the Traveler Universe, Mark Miller. Happy birthday, dude, my fellow veteran. Yeah. Let's rock our 70s. Yeah. And so I played one of their games. That was a game for Traveler. And it was called Striker. I don't know if anybody remembers that or not, but yeah, Striker. And I had designed some vehicles for it. You could design your own vehicles. And so, as a result, I got published in, I think, the old Travelers Aid Society Digest. God, it has been a zillion years. Prop driven fighter, and, that's what I designed, and a couple of other things. And I asked them, about the rules. Could we adopt the old striker rules to modern combat, so on and so forth? And uh, they told me about a game that they had designed It was originally entitled Guardian. I have no idea where they got that. But what they talking about was it was a post-apocalyptic setting of World War III in the aftermath. And from what I understand, and I believe it was Lauren Wiseman, rest in power, brother, uh, told me that they'd actually just started designing the game on their way home from Gen Con. And we're talking about driving back to Normal, Illinois. What a wonderful name for a town. And I said, "Oh, I'd be interested in, I'd like to write some stuff for that." So Twilight 2000 came out. Boom. I got a first edition, looked it over, and thought, well, this is interesting. God, this is interesting. This is quite a background. Then I looked at the character generation mechanics, going, yeah, you could tell this was designed basically by a company that produced war games. It had the sort of war game feel to it. Uh, and then I went ahead, but I liked it. Boy, did I like it. I liked it a lot. It just appealed to me. Couldn't begin to tell you why. But we went ahead. I went ahead and I was thinking about doing some stuff. And my friend and research assistant, Dr. Stephanie Robbins, hi, Steph, if you're listening to this, give me a shout out. Glad you're back in the States, too. Let's just say Stephanie is a professional analyst, and I'm going to leave her fill in the rest if she cares to. But she told me about the Black Madonna of Częstochowa, Poland. God, I hope I pronounced that right. I thought, now here's something interesting. So I basically wrote it as a sandbox. You had all this stuff going on in this little corner of war-torn Poland. And it was because it was south of Calais, it fit in with the original uh, scenario, Escape from Calais. Okay. And they are mild. Um, excuse me. So, we rolled from there. But I would like to talk about the timeline. Now, the timeline was projected as like a future history. I'm like, okay. The problem is, I really, it was a problem, more of a challenge, I think. So that you had to kind of fit events in that would match the overall timeline. And it was kind of, World War II with more technologically advanced equipment, Sino Soviet War. Woo! Um, hey, you know, you work with what you got. And it was pretty good. And I made it work for Black Madonna, for RDF Sourcebook, for uh, a variety, a number of guidebooks I wrote. NATO first edition NATO vehicle guide, first edition I think American vehicle guide, and first edition Soviet vehicle guide. Yeah, I fit it in. I did orders of battle, uh, and lots of research as well as I could, uh, especially on the Soviet bloc, Warsaw Pact. It was a little thin on the ground. Resources were, but hey, you do what you can with what you have. So out they came. Black Madonna. I'm always very proud of both Black Madonna and RDF Sourcebook, although I look back at their histories now. And oh, hey, John, glad to see you're here, my friend. Yeah, I'm pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Had my breakfast smoothie. My wife makes excellent fruit smoothies. Uh, and then away we went. Now, what I think is interesting is that uh, I look back today. Black Madonna was written in the mid 1980s. We're talking, oh Lord, 30 years ago at least. Hey, Steel Guard, at least. It was written during the Cold War. Like I said, resources were thin on the ground. And you had to make the best guesstimates. And quite frankly, first to me, the first edition character gen was a little too crunchy. It was very much wargamey. Then you had second edition. I think came out at around 1990, something like that. Yeah, but it came out in the 90s. They revised the timeline because it's obvious this alternate history wasn't going, this future history wasn't going to come to pass. So I was, finally they said alternate history. Okay. Well, the takeoff point on that one was that the coup against Gorbachev, if you remember that, the 91 coup, you read accounts of it, and the only reason why he wasn't removed uh, was because none of the KGB alpha teams, which their counter-terrorist, elite strike force, wanted to go in and do it. They refused to, and the coup collapsed pretty much. And after Mikhail Gorbachev, of course, we had Boris Yeltsin, or Shikhar Boris, as I've heard him referred to, Boris the Drunk. And, we see events unfolding now, up to and including, the current president, uh, czar, if you will, of all the Russias, Vladimir Putin. And so what they did was they said, oh no. One of the alpha teams went in, they took out the reformers, and the hardliners took back over in 91. And the Soviet Union was, in their eyes at least, pulled back from the brink. And, took it from there. Now, I don't know much about the new timeline from Free League. I'm waiting it for it so I can really start cranking on with uh, writing or rewriting or however you want to call it. By the way, I'm not really fond of remakes, but but this case, yes. In this case, yes, because I have access to a lot more sources, a lot of open sources. On one of the two Twilight groups I'm on, guy posted a link to a website that lists all of the Cold War air bases and airfields, like in Poland. And as I said, holy crap, I'd have probably sold a kidney to get my hands on that kind of information back in the 80s, but you probably couldn't because it was probably then stamped secret, security restrictions. So, but now, hey. So when Free League announced the Twilight 2000 4th edition, I was like, yay! So I have several of their games. The Alien RPG, which fantastic. Really captures the spirit of both Alien movies. Yeah, there were only two made. Fight me. Uh, and then I have sinus trouble, by the way, and some other things. But hell, at least it's not COVID-19. Uh, I also have their Tales from the Loop and Things from the Flood RPGs. These are excellent. The graphics, if nothing else, is amazing. But the games themselves have a quality to them, to the writing, to the construction, I would call evocative, if I could use that term. And man, it looks like they're going to be bringing the same thing to Twilight 2000, to that, you know, as they call it now, role playing in World War III that never happened. To which I add in parentheses, thank the gods. Hmm. And oh yeah, Steel Guard. I do too. I'm signed up for the metal box set. If you're gonna do it right. I'm a hardcore Twilighter. Um, so anyway, and I like their Year Zero engine because it's much more of a narrative, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what it's all about. Now, before anybody asks, uh, I'll tell you right now, I'm already looking at some changes in the Black Madonna. The first one that came right off the top of my head after reading, after my hobby is historical miniatures wargaming, and I specialize, if you want to say that. My favorite periods are early medieval, it's also known as the Dark Ages, and high medieval. So yeah, I've had a lot of European military history. So now, first change I made, well, the Markgraf of Silesia is gone. Long live the Duke of Silesia. Yeah, I figure well, that based around his command, which I believe is the 14th motorized Polish 14th motorized rifle division. I figure old Julian probably got a pretty fair shot at making that stick, at establishing his own warlord fiefdom down there in southern Poland. I also thought I would throw in that he claims to be descended from the last family, Polish family, who were the dukes of Silesia, and that I believe the name is pronounced Piast. If anybody out there is is a native Poland or Pole or speaks Polish, you could correct me. Please correct me if I get these names mispronounced. Uh, he makes the claim that he claims he's reclaiming the old ducal throne of Silesia. He's headquartered in Rassobors, and he's down there now. The kicker is the historical capital of Silesia was Wroclaw or Breslau in German. Yeah, you're going to find a lot of German in Silesia because, after all, it was part of the Holy Roman Empire, part of the Austro Hungarian Empire. So yeah, he had a lot of Austrian influence, a lot of German influence. But he's like, yeah, no, to Poland for the Polish. Now, is he still a ruthless, paranoid dictator? Yeah, but he's one you could probably live with in certain circumstances, as he has a tendency. He rewards good service. He rewards loyalty. Oh yeah, Corey, I remember that. Remember your question. See if I can get to a continue because I think you ran out of space. But yeah, please continue with that thought. Uh, so what they're doing is going back to 91 and doing it as the alternate history, branching out from there. I'm interested to see how they do it. Now, I've watched the Three Skulls Tavern. In fact, I've watched it twice, gleaning what info I could. Looks like a good system so far. Looks like an excellent system, guys. I'm looking forward to writing for it. But they talked about in this and other areas the war expanding to Finland and Sweden, mainly southern Sweden. I want to see how they do this. You know. And I could understand the Russians going into Finland because to them it's just another Baltic state. Hey, we're going to grab Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. Yeah. Okay, I see. Okay, so far, Corey. Yeah, and I want to see how they do that. I figure anyway, in case the balloon goes up, yeah, the Balkans are gone. I have a very good friend who is from Finland, and he said we actually didn't really get ourselves liberated from Soviet Union until the wall came down. Oh, no worries, Corey. That's a good question. Give me a minute. What do you? Okay, yeah, I understand it, but yeah, the idea of the viability, quite frankly, for me, narratively speaking, yeah, yeah, that's why alternate history, I think, is more important. Oh my heavens, hounds are at the door. I have. Oh, and to answer somebody else's question, that they're probably thinking, yes, that is a 12 gauge pump shotgun riot model sitting there propped up against my office, unloaded. I store the ammunition separately. I toted a version of that. That's a Mossberg, but I toted a version of that, an 870. I got from the Navy when I was in Vietnam. I was in the Army, but I traded the guys in the Navy for one of them. Great weapon for household defense. Yeah. Okay. Now, in terms of still been viable, where did you? Actually, the history, Corey. Um, are you familiar with the game 2300 AD? Because that's the future history of the Twilight 2000 timeline. Now they in 2300 they refer to it as the Twilight era. So I don't know, you know, in terms of but yeah, you make a very good point, Corey. In fact, that whole idea is worth another live stream in and of itself. Okay, but anyway, back to what I was saying. We had, my plans are we're going to have um, the Duke of Silesia. You get to deal with him. And he's got himself set up really nicely as a feudal overlord. And it works. It works. And how the player characters will interact, what they will do. You know, Another character out of there that everybody always likes to ask about, Captain Molly Warren. hmm By the way, kind of toned her down for publication. When I was running my playtest of the Black Madonna, Captain Warren had an annoying habit of shooting every Russian she ever took prisoner. And I realized later on that's a little extreme. At that level of crazy, would have your own men, your own troops going, well, hmm. So, yeah, she was toned down a bit. I actually intend to give her a deeper, richer storyline. Oh, yeah, Corey. Corey's asked if I intended to have more say. I was actually working up a source book for East Africa, Kenya primarily, called The Lions of Twilight. And the main American unit over there was well, yeah, I guess you'd say a reconstituted 173rd Airborne Brigade. And part of it was actually done in honor of my brothers who served in the 173rd. I didn't. Uh, didn't even make it into jump school. In fact, the doctors that examined me for jump training took a look at my feet and go, how'd you make it in the Army? I inherited my father's fallen arches. Anyway, or close to them. Anyway, but that's one thing I really seriously wanted to do. Now, for those of you that have the book, Twilight 2000 version, I see version 2 and version 2.2. In the very back page is something called the Twilight 2000, or I think the GDW GPS survey, what they called it. And it gave different kinds of alternatives for Twilight 2000. Alien invasion, especially if you had 2.2, because that clicked with Traveler New Era, all the other GDW games. They called it their house system. Not a bad system, but it was very much 1990s. Okay. They had something called Armor 21, which was into the future, like 2050 AD. Drone warfare and stuff like that. And I looked at that a few days ago and I went, damn, we got that now pretty much. Um, they actually had a pandemic, Twilight 2000 plague. Jesus, was that eerily prescient or what? Anyway, uh, but it was all these interesting ideas. Now, the one variant they did do was Merc 2000. And I liked that. I had an entire campaign set up for the Nigerian Civil War. So I hope this kind of answers your question, Corey. And I hope that, for me, ultimately, though, the idea was timeline. What is the timeline? It is. Um, it's a backdrop for telling stories. That's really what it is. I have some other, by the way, I have some other things planned for the Black Madonna. One of the things that I really found amazing was in the original edition, the Duke of Silesia is in Rassobors, or Markgraf of Silesia was located in Rassobors. The Duke of Silesia is located in Rassobors. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. And uh, oh, one more thing, Corey. They didn't actually reset the timeline. They actually played a game based on that. And they used that game, I guess it was some kind of map game, to basically craft the 2300. narrative because it was originally called Traveler 2300. And then it was just 2300. I mean, Mongoose, by the way, has a really good. Hey, knowing what I know now after 12 years in the infantry, NATO tanks would have been shot in the. Oh, they would have. They would have. But remember, a lot of the information you could get your hands on, Steel Guard, back then. I had a professor in one of my defense studies classes that I thought came up with one of the best. He said, if you're looking for good intelligence data, always get it from the agency that doesn't get their funding, for studying the topic that you're looking for. Let's say Soviet tanks, Steel Guard. You know, hey, you go to the army intelligence sources or those sources, and the Soviets are 8 foot three. Their tanks are walking fortresses armed with lasers, and all. So what? So what do you do? Ha! I'm gonna go to the Navy because the Navy doesn't care, but they do run analysis on like Soviet vehicles, Soviet weaponry. They're like, no, they're this, that, and the other. The big, yeah, they're not that great. And I think you're right, Steel Guard. But just the Soviets had so damn many of them. It was actually part of their doctrine. It was the running tank storm. But the part that always got me is having studied realistically the Soviet military. Their logistics train wasn't worth a hoot and a holler. Oh yeah, you're right, Steel Guard. It's a numbers game. Wasn't worth a hoot and a holler. Um, they may have been able to um, it was the classic. It was about the same observation that Admiral Yamamoto made about America after Pearl Harbor, when he said, "I fear we have awakened a sleeping giant." You know, well, in this case, the giant would have come striding in with a little bitty tail. The big Russian bear had a little logistics tail. Remember, they set deadlines for their offensives. You know, 7 days to the Rhine. Why? Because after that, they're Sierra Oscar Lima, when it comes to logistics. Uh, they're going to be literally running. It's like the Battle of the Bulge. Remember the Ardennes offensive in World War II? The Germans ran out of friggin' gas. And they had a Panzer Spearhead ready to cross the Meuse River. What they have made, I don't know. But they literally stalled in place. They ran out of gas. That may happen to some of the Soviet Spearhead units. They ran out of, beads, bullets, and black oil. And it's, oh yeah, yeah, you're both right. It's right. By the way, I had the game Third World War, and yeah, that's you look at that and you get a real good look at the logistics. And yeah, Steel Guard tactical nukes all over the place. In fact, their doctrine. I remember reading where, during a fit of absolute saber rattling, they said that the Soviet forces would advance into Western Europe behind a curtain of nuclear fire. That was scary. Um, when you look at the escalation, uh, you know, and all of that, the nuclear exchange in the old Twilight 2000 was apparently started off as counterforce, then went rapidly to counter value. What that means is we're going to hit your military targets first, and then we're going to hit the cities. And that's going to go to whiz. I'm there's a fellow on the two forums, a Frenchman, Nicholas Michon or Michon. God, I hope I'm not butchering your name, sir. He has written on this post. He has posted some excellent material on the French army, on the French response, which really throws that whole timeline askew simply because we didn't really know it at the time. We really didn't know it. Oh, yeah. The F 19 as an air superiority stealth fighter. Okay. I probably, I don't know. Might have worked. Wouldn't get me in one of them things, but then I am a sort of a ground pounder. Uh, but back to what I was saying. You look at things like logistics, and Antoine Lavoisier, complex games apologist, really I think nailed it in many respects when he was talking about the economics. You know, I think that economics would limit the war because the one thing I want to know in the timeline, the new timeline is what's left in the United States, what's left in the Soviet Union. Do they still have the industrial infrastructure to prosecute the war? Or are we going back to a war of uh, trench raiders, in other words? I don't know. I really want to see that because that would make for a very interesting gaming environment, especially with the Black Madonna as a prize. And I mean, I'm thinking already the groups that would be after that. Of course, you got the player character group and whoever they happen to be working for. My bet is the Duke of Silesia. He pays the best. Uh, CIA, DIA, provided they're still left. I wonder how viable they would be with command structure pretty well whacked. Um, I could see some criminal organizations going after that. Billionaires Boys Club. Oh, Steel Guard. No, I did not. Although they used some of my material in there a little bit. Air Lords of the Ozarks. No, I really didn't. Kind of wish I did because that's my home state is Missouri, and that took place down there. I'm glad you enjoyed them. They're really, really, really good. Um, it's funny. Uh, of all the Twilight 2000 writers, I'm one of a small. I guess you could count us on the fingers of one hand. It's left. Tom Mulkey, the author of Urban Guerrilla and several other uh, modules. He passed almost a decade ago. I know Lauren Wiseman has marched on. I think at least one of the Keith brothers, uh, you know, he's gone. I know one of the Keith brothers is gone. I'm not sure if it was Andrew or William. I think the other one may still be active. I don't know, but I'm going to find out today because these are some people I would like to stay in touch with. The Keith brothers. I know Mark Miller's still around. Frank Chadwick's still around, and doing both of them doing very well. Mark is really one of best game designers. So is Frank. Frank Chadwick is a tremendous dude, great guy, a tremendous intelligence analysis, and I'm looking forward to bringing the Black Madonna up to date. By the way, Oh, the point I was going to make about Rasibors before I kind of wandered off. Yeah, I'm prone to do that. Uh, Give me a break. I'm 71. Uh, I and yet here we are in 2020. All right, yeah. Back then, Rasibors was a little entry in an encyclopedia, or if you were lucky, you get your hands on a CIA country guide. Get a little more. Now they've got their own website. I could take tours. I could take virtual tours of it with Google Earth. I can basically take a walking tour. I can look at the places now and see what it looked like. Czestochowa got their own website. The monastery's got its own website. Yasna Gora, the Hill of Light. It is just phenomenal what could be done today. And talk about helping craft a story. And that's what I'm a storyteller. That's it. As I always say, if you want, if you're looking for inner meaning and cosmic truths, if you find any, let me know. Hell, I won't even charge you for it. I put it out there so people can enjoy and enjoy. Yeah, what you do with the game is yours. It's up to you. I remember years and years and years ago when the Black Madonna first came out. RDF Sourcebook, excuse me. And I was at a convention in St. Petersburg, Florida. And there's this guy who was running the RDF source book, his way, and he had a lot of different things going on. Table full of gamers, really enjoying it. And I walked up and I was just looking, and the kid, listen, well, yeah, I guess you're all kids to me. It noticed that, my God, that's Frank Fry. That's the guy that wrote this. And he looked up at me and he said, "Am I doing this right?" And I just looked down at him and said, "Hey, your players are having a good time playing it. You're having a good time running it. You did it right. You're doing it right. There is no right way. Take my material and enjoy it." And that's what Lauren Wiseman told me. That was their philosophy. The game's yours. Once you buy it, it's yours. Do with it what you want. There is no right or wrong way. So yeah. And I've got a couple of other things, by the way. I want to get to the point before. Some of the other things I'm going to change now that I've got a better handle. The Spetsnaz team, SSD 1109 is going to have a fourth member, a woman. Because, yes, they had them. And, yeah, I was now able to access all kinds of stuff on Spetsnaz, on, the intelligence services, different. It is just phenomenal. It's almost an embarrassment of riches. But I will tell I'll set up the framework. I really am looking to really, really go for the sandbox again, with the Black Madonna as the prize. And I've already got that set up. I've got a couple of other things. Well, of course, the Duke of Silesia, as I'm now taken to calling him. Who one day, by the way, his goal is to reclaim all of the former lands, the ducal lands of Silesia, which, if you look it up, Wikipedias are great. Oh God, I love me wiki. If you look it up, that's going to be a sizable chunk of South and Central Poland. That was a very big duchy. It's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting. And of course, there will always be Captain Molly Warren. Now, knowing some of the techniques in the Black Madonna, it was implied that she had been captured by the Russians and, well, there's no other way to put this, gang raped. So yeah, I think what would be worse, in fact, it would have been part of it, she's captured by the Soviets and interrogated. Now that might imply. And one of her interrogators just happens to be one of the members of SSD 1109. Now, which one? I'm probably going to leave up to the person running the game, and how that particular thread gets resolved, you know. So there you go. Because that's what she's doing. She's looking for her attackers, which now means she doesn't shoot every Russian she meets. She looks them in the face, and if she can't remember them, you know, then fall in. It actually makes her a little more of an approachable character, an accessible character. Though if anybody wants to still do it the old way, have her, the old backstory, you go right ahead. Hey, yeah, always, always, always keep your audience firmly in mind, your players. They're what's making you. You guys are what's made me. Your enthusiasm, your interest, um, just absolutely wonderful. Really, I can't say enough good things about you. You know, although there may be a few of you that come under the heading of I don't know what effect they may have on the enemy, but they scare the hell out of me on occasion. But that's okay. That's all part of it. You guys are the best. Anyway, as far as that goes, I am now awaiting. I'm interested also to see their hex. I guess it looks like their hex crawl. I may wind up buying something like uh, Forbidden Lands, I believe it's called. It's their fantasy, but it's a hex crawl system. I want to see how it works because I think this would have tremendous usage in the Twilight 2000 environment. As far as other future projects, I've done, we'll see. New RDF source book revised. God, I could turn that into probably a 300-page epic. That would be a full blown source book. East Africa, the lions of Twilight may yet roar. I don't know. I don't know. But the genre, and let me, I see I'm coming up on an hour, and that's really all I had allocated for this. So I don't put you guys to sleep. Um, I really don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. Um, they had a lot of interesting adventures back here in America. Intended to look like Mad Max and or the Road Warrior. One thing I would like to add, one of you fellows, one of the guys on the forum, is actually asking you, will there be ghoul, or, zombies and vampires? No, I'm not going to add them. Doesn't mean you can't. Uh, and another one told a story about how he had used a local Russian boogeyman. Oh my God, just as a rumor. Whether or not they exist is irrelevant. People believe they do and they act accordingly. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Um, I'll give you a little something. One of the missions that I ran for what I called Return to America is when the RDF pulls out of the Middle East and they're going home. You know, well, the people that stay there, like there's a lot of them stay in East Africa, and they're essentially absorbed in, as I had it, absorbed into the French military. They essentially become, units of the French Foreign Legion. Okay, not sure if I do that now, but anyway, one of the last functioning American Los Angeles class attack boats USS Jacksonville, I believe I called her. Took them across the ocean. Yeah, it does. Because that's the whole point. I was just getting to that, Corey. Thank you for bringing up that question. Um, that's part of it. It is post-apocalyptic adventures. Um, it's in many respects. There is the genre of sword and sorcery uh, type. That's it's that type of adventure. It's the wandering heroes. Oh, Gamma World. I've actually played that. God, it's fun. It's fun. Uh, and Now I had anyway, to get back to my story. So the player character group, who were all like special operations for, they were recon. They were a mixed force of Marine Force Recon, Army Airborne Ranger. You know, I think they even had one Delta Force dude in there too. Just uh, they're put aboard the Jacksonville and they are sent across um, the ocean. And their main job is to go ashore in America and recon landing sites. So they come ashore at the Ocean Point. I think it's the Ocean Point Army Terminal. It's in South Carolina, and they start there. They're going to do I think a 5 mile inland sweep just to get an idea of the perimeter. And these guys are in full recon mode because they've already heard about New America, the terrorist organization in my book. Um, and so they're doing hostile ground. They come up on a convenience store. They're poking around, and they're doing very good. These people had it down. We had at least one, maybe two veterans. One of them was a Navy Special Warfare. Uh, he was a PBR commander in really, because he used to do SEAL team extractions. Boy, that must have been a lot of fun. You should have heard some of the stories he told. They can chill your, well, yeah. Um, and So they're poking around this convenience store, and they're spray painted on the wall in bright fluorescent orange is that famous line from H.P. Lovecraft. And I can't even begin to do it from memory because I'm a Lovecraft scholar, but that's okay. Anyway, it is that which is dead cannot really die, and with strange eons, even death may die, or something like that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, that gaming table got very quiet. Oh my God, Frank, you didn't. And I just pointed to the stack of Call of Cthulhu books I had then. And yes, that's probably my very, very, very favorite. They're like, you didn't. So they set up a perimeter. I think they shot a couple of squirrels wandering around at night. And these guys were like, oh, they couldn't wait in the morning for when they hauled ass. They couldn't get out of there. They did a tactical withdrawal. They didn't really like run in a blind panic, but they were like. And after the session was over, and they were back on the sub, and one of them said, "You didn't, did you?" I said, "No. Actually, if you'd have gone in and searched and looked into what was left of the cold storage locker, you'd have found the body of the convenience store clerk, and in his backpack was a set of Call of Cthulhu game books." I think one of the players, I think she was almost ready to dump her Coke on top of me. And I was like, yo. But yeah, no, that's the point. If you want to put it, and I'm going to include possible, potential horror elements in there, simply because you're dealing in that kind of situation. Um, I would also like to again point out, um, doesn't matter if the great old ones exist or not. People believe they do, and and they act accordingly, and it's that existence which gives them shape and form. I mean, I've got a set of props for Call of Cthulhu. It's the actual stage like a little like a cut statue and a plaque and things like that. That if you actually found them, if you were a Twilight Tooth, if you were actually, found them in the ruins of say an old house, and you didn't realize the context, you might start thinking, "Holy crap, this guy was a cultist." May very well have been. It's just nothing really happened. Nothing's out there. Actually, and I think it's up to the individual. War can be horrible enough. Wow. Yeah, that's a good one. And let me tell you, uh, in Alien RPG, they have something called stress, and then you have panic, and then it builds up. And I think that's very good. Um, there's also something else. I call it the wall. When I went into the Army in 1967, I'd planned to make it a career. My path was do 3 years active duty, you know, that included a tour in Vietnam. Then get out, go to college on the GI Bill, go to ROT, get a commission through ROTC, and go back in. About the 11th month I was in Vietnam, I realized I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. Call it the wall, if you will. And you hit it. There are guys that went for years without it happening. There are other guys that maybe lasted a month or two. If any of you have ever seen the series Band of Brothers, which I highly recommend, there's that one episode, I think it's Battle of Hagenau, where Lieutenant Compton just, bam, he's had it, drops his helmet in the snow, he's had it. So I think you really do need that. And I was very lucky when I was playtesting the RDF source book. One of my players actually did that. And the response of the other player characters was pretty much the same as it was in real life. They comforted him. They said, "Okay, dude, we understand. Yeah, we'll get you out of here." That's really, I think one of the most, that's really, I think one of the most fascinating reactions that I ever heard was General George S. Patton, that notorious slapping incident. Well, I've read the actual accounts. And Patton walked in there, and the first thing he said was, you wonderful, I'm very sorry. If I'd have been a better general, you wonderful boys wouldn't be here. Little men wouldn't be here." And when he smacked that one soldier, he'd actually cracked himself because the soldier forgave him. All of them did. They all said, "Yeah, I guess the general had it too." So I think that could be a very important factor. One of the things I never cared for with Dungeons and Dragons was the whole idea of resurrection, making it cheap and easy. In fact, if I run fantasy games, there is there's no resurrection in my there's healing, but there's no resurrection. Once you're gone, you're gone. And my objection to that was it cheapened the experience. It made it just too easy. You lead a life of violence, and eventually it will catch up with you. It's called PTSD in my case. Been fighting it for all of my adult life. and winning, I might add. Still strikes every now and again, but nothing like it did. But it's there, and I think it should be a part of that environment. Okay, I see the hour is up, and I really want to get on with it. And I know you guys do too. Thank you all for who all dropped in. And next time, and there will be a next time, I'm thinking possibly of doing a vlog as I write this, and just, bouncing ideas off you guys. You're the players. You're the people who are going to buy this. You're the people who are going to play it and run it. You're quite welcome, John. Thank you for being a fan and a friend. Okay, but remember my motto, guys. Have fun, play games. Let's rock. Okay, I'm out of here, as we used to say.